when we do units in visualizing cultures, we pick out a signature graphic to just highlight that unit, and we picked this one of a woman in Ueno Park. In the evening, once again, the lights in the evening, but here we have not a woman in traditional dress, but what Hiromu has already referred to as a modern woman wearing Western dress. She's coming out of a neon-lit city, and it's very evocative of many cultural developments at that moment.
I think it's very interesting to show a woman alone who's safely walking at night, and the dark figures silhouetted look benign and not threatening, and that's not always the case in images like this, but it's significant. I mean, that she's also coming out from a very brightly lit city. She's under a spotlight in a sense, and there's a kind of excitement that comes from that ability to be out at night experiencing the new world.
If you look very closely at the picture also and look at the left side of the picture, way back in almost shadow figures, are two figures wearing traditional Japanese clothes. And the city is indeed multicultural at this time. Western costume, Western dress, Western hairstyles are becoming more and more common, and the mix on any street scene, photograph or whatever, of these areas is a mix of people wearing traditional dress, men and women, and wearing Western style dress.
In fact, there was a survey that was taken almost around this time, 1931, in the Ginza shopping district, and they made social scientists made a survey of during the middle of the day of how many men were wearing Western style clothes versus Japanese style clothing, and how many women were wearing Japanese versus Western style clothing. And there was a bit of mix. It wasn't a complete 50-50. As I recall, there were more women wearing Japanese style clothing than there were, and in fact there were more men wearing Western style clothing in that particular district of Tokyo. But I think you're absolutely right in saying that this is a period where you see a mix of clothing. It's a cosmopolitan space.
You know, you mentioned the date of this picture, and it's 1931, and that gets back to what we were talking about earlier. That is the year the Japanese military lops off the 3 northern provinces of China and turned it into a puppet state known as Manchukuo. This is what things look like at home. That's a war on a distant shore. But this is what he is choosing to depict.
And of course, in the short to midterm, the war helps the economy. And so it is perhaps lighting up the street lights and the neon
That's
signs.
right.
It's helping Japan get out of the Great Depression faster than any other major countries at that time.
Yes.
So war is in fact connected to prosperity and commerce.
And a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
We all know that.
This is not an innocent place. It's always been an area of mixed high culture and low life. And so I think he's being a bit daring here with this print.
There are many important places that are associated in and around Ueno Park. Ueno Park itself is a historically important area where it was the site of one of the actual battles that took place during Meiji Restoration of 1868, when the shogunal forces resisted to some degree the new regime's forces. And then and it was also the site where there was a major temple complex, Kaneji, which was associated with the shogunate. And after the restoration, it becomes a site of some of Japan's first art university and music conservatory. It becomes a site of museums later on, a zoo, an imperial zoo. And so perhaps this lady is strolling in one of these newly created sites. It is also near traditional entertainment districts and the demi-monde. So nightlife may be part of this too. It's purely speculation, but Ueno itself is very centered around these institutions that are both new and have older histories.
Well, he's definitely talking about moving through time in his annotation.
Right.
In the eras of the shoguns, the black gates stood at this site. The remaining pines do not comment on this, so how we can see through to the past, and that doesn't really go away entirely.